What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and I will be pretty much alone tonight, aside from producer Mark Lee. Ida will not join us today. Miss Ida, she is taking care of some business that we can't know about. I'm just joking. But she will join us on the next podcast, and we have some interesting topics that we are going to discuss. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring out Mark.
Glad to have you here with me. Hey, good to see you. I know you had a good time on Thanksgiving. Speaking of Thanksgiving, I've got some interesting news. I've shared it with other people as well and all of that, but it is fun news involving my cousin because he is a GBI officer. No matter what people think of law enforcement, it is good to have relatives that are on whatever the force may be, and that is the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. But one of the things that we were sharing is he'll actually be doing Rosalind Carter's service on day after tomorrow. So he actually had to get back to Georgia to participate in that. And he's done some other things, like he's worked the Masters and he worked a number of other events, including some of the football games and other things that take place there in the Atlanta area. But one of the things that he shared with me that you will find funny, and everybody's been cracking up on this, is that apparently, when you are doing dirty and you are being caught in your dirt, you don't always get to choose your route and all along those lines. So he was actually working the detail when Mr. Trump went to the courts there in Atlanta. And apparently what happened is when he went to the courts in Atlanta, I think he said he was either the second or the third car that was in there, they intentionally, and sometimes those politicians are smarter than we give them credit for, but they intentionally put him through the neighborhood. I'll just put it that way and everything, because he said he looked off to the side and he's like, wait a minute, we're going through Morehouse. That was my cousin and all in that space. So they took him through the neighborhood because they knew that he was not going to get a lot of love going through the neighborhood, and he didn't get a lot of love. So there were people throwing middle fingers at him and doing other things as he was going through the neighborhood and all in that space. So apparently the fine folks there in Atlanta decided to give him a taste of his own medicine and give him a tour of some of our finer establishments where he was not going to be greeted with MAGA supporters and those that might give him love and all in that space. So yeah, my cousin was really enjoying that, and we were having a good laugh at Mr. Trump's expense and all in that space, because apparently they literally sent him through our neighborhood, whether that was what we might call the projects or Morehouse or a number of other things. So yeah, there were some folks that were not greeting him with a great deal of affection and all in that space. So my cousin in the car was enjoying the moment of watching Trump's torture.
As he should be tortured. I mean, I don't understand why people in their right mind would even support this man. They don't even understand what's at stake in the democracy and our laws, our secrets, how we're governed, everything. I'm not saying the United States is 100% whatever, but at the same time we are all American citizens, and if you give foreign entities our information, it not only harms them, but it harms us too. And if for some reason, to me, the white people doesn't think that they're going to be harmed. They feel like it's going to be people of color, Black people, Hispanics, and everybody else that's going to be harmed. But no, it's going to be you and everybody else or whatever. But for the life of me, I can't even understand why people vote Republican and why people support these people, just for the life of me. And I'm just like, I just don't get it. I mean, because even with the student loans thing, that's fiasco, these people paid paid money to have people to lean on people on the Supreme Court to have those people vote against you getting your loans, deterred and wiped off. This wasn't a Democrat thing. This was a Republican thing. And they're trying to make sure that, you're tied to those loans. But the thing about it is, they're giving, entities and corporations, and they're calling corporations people and, things like that or whatever. They're giving all these people all these tax breaks, and they're sending money over to these other people, but they want you to remain in poverty. And they want you to remain tied to those student loans. And for the life of me, I don't understand why you people vote Republican. I just honestly don't get it, because you're not in the top 1%. So there's no benefit for you to vote Republican, and you're voting against your own best interest. I'm just like, I don't understand. But then, the sad part about it is you vote against your own best interest and you want to blame the Democrats. It's not the Democrats. It's the Republicans. Because I was listening to this white guy on the news. I think it was ABC News. He was somewhere. And he was basically saying that his loans were not discarded and things like that or whatever. And so he was angry with Biden. Why are you angry with Biden? Biden is doing everything he can to get your loans thrown out. It's the Republicans who are backdooring, trying to get you still stuck in all this debt and all this other stuff. So anytime that they're making laws and they're bringing things to the forefront, it's not for the common people. It's not for you. It's for the top 1%. It's for the rich. And I just don't, like I said, for the life of me, I just can't understand why people would vote in that way, in that regard. Mark, I just don't get it. Maybe you can explain it better, but for me, I just don't understand it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, and everything. It'll be interesting to see why people have that attitude and all along those lines. But like I said, I don't get it, and I don't have to get it, and all in that space. I know we're going to get to some other hard-hitting news, but I know that you just came back from a wonderful trip, and all along those lines, and some of the trip might not have been all that great because apparently some of the people are too busy smoking and having animals and all in that space. But I do have a very serious question to ask you about Italy, because I've heard good things, and like I've said before, I need to do more road traveling. I need to be more of a jet setter, like my good friend Dr. Anthony, and one of these days she'll ditch that friend of hers and take me on one of these trips and all along those lines. But I can still wish and dream and all in that space. But that being said, and all along those lines, what is your thoughts around Italian food? Like, I love some good Italian dishes, and there's some good Italian restaurants that even are here in this area, and I'm sure DC has some good Italian restaurants. But did you find the Italian food that was actually in Italy to be authentically better, or was it just run-of-the-mill Italian food like we can get here in the States, or were they much better in their Italian cooking there in Italy, since I'm sure that you got to eat and experience some of that great food too?
I'm gonna just put it to you like this. I'm from Louisiana. Nobody's food is better than ours. So with that being said, I'm just gonna say this. We ate a lot of pizza because my friend Sean, she was like, let's see who has the best pizza. So we were eating a lot of pizza in different places, but I did get some Italian dishes, and I did like what I had. I had the way that they prepared the lobster. I'd never had it before, with the vegetables, and they were like chilled with like a dill taste with a vinaigrette or whatever. That was really good. And then I had steak, but I didn't really eat the pasta because for some reason all of the restaurants that we selected, the pasta has seafood in it that I cannot eat. So I wasn't able to get the pasta and try their pasta or whatever. But the food that I did try, I always put my Louisiana Creole seasoning on any and everything. I put my Louisiana Creole seasoning on all of it, but for the most part, everything was good. What I didn't like about there is they allow their pets to just come in, and they're just all over the place. So it's like everybody and their mama, their daddy, the grandmammy, the grandpappy, all of them have pets. So in a lot of my pictures, my face is swollen and my eyes are swollen, and that's because the pets were around. And just imagine if they were even closer to me, the reaction that I would have had. And then everybody over there smokes, and so not only am I dealing with the reaction to the pets, I'm dealing with the reaction to the smoke and being outside and stuff like that. But overall, I did have a good trip. Now, I was a little concerned based off of some of the videos that I was seeing in, on TikTok and other social media platforms, saying that, Black people are treated differently. They're discriminated against over there. And then one of them said that, you know, if you're a darker skinned Black person, they really, really treat you different. But I didn't have that experience. The only negativity that I can think of is when I was at the restaurant. I didn't like the way this server came over and just snatched my card up and rang up the bill. For one, we were going to split the bill because when you eat with the party, they put everybody's ticket on one, everybody's, you know, items on one ticket. You don't get separate tickets. So he just came over without even consulting me. He wasn't my server, never said anything to me, never had any words. So he saw I laid my card on the table and the bill was right next to my card. So I'm looking down, going through my phone or whatever, and he just came over, snatched my card up, and just automatically, you know, just ran my card. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? And then my server comes over. He was like, no. They were supposed to split, you know, explain it to him. And I'm just like, why the fuck would you come over and pick my card up without even addressing me, without even saying anything? And then my friend was like, oh no, it's complimentary. You know, you know, that's how they do. It's customary. No, that's not how they do. When you're in a restaurant, the people come over. Are you ready for me to run your card? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for that? He never said anything to me. He was not my waiter. We had no conversation whatsoever. Even when we were leaving the restaurant, this man never addressed me. So my thing is, why did you come over and snatch my card up? You know, what if I didn't want to pay for, you know, the people who was, you know, sitting at my table? What if I only had enough money to pay for mine? You know what I'm saying? You don't even know what we had worked out and what we had, you know, going on. You just came over and ran my car. So I'm definitely going to write a negative response in regards to that, because I didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't come over taking my card. Don't come over doing anything, because you were not my server. You did nothing. You know what I'm saying? You didn't say hi. You didn't say, ma'am, excuse me. You said nothing. He just came over, picked my card up, and swiped my card.
Oh, wow, that's very rude and not very professional and everything. But coming back to the pizza, I sell that a friend of mine who is an author, and he's got a book called Space Bar Continuum and everything, King Kenny. So I've known both him and his dad, and some people will look at the book and say that it is kind of like your books in the sense of being having some elements of animation and all in that space and everything. But he, on his page, if you go to his page, actually has a competition involving pizza, and you can actually speak to this since you have. He had the pizza there in parts of Italy, and I don't know if you went to Naples, but he's having a poll on his page asking the best pizza, and the choices are New York style pizza, Chicago style pizza, and he gives examples of all of these. Detroit style pizza, New Haven, which I didn't know New Haven had a pizza community, or in Naples, Italy. Or your sixth option is I don't like pizza, I hate pizza. So that could be the sixth option and everything. So I don't know. It sounds like your friend that you went with, and it sounds like it was a young lady, is a pizza aficionado and all in that space. So maybe she has a favorite style of pizza and everything.
She's gonna come on the show. We're gonna do a show with her. She's been on my show before. We're gonna do a show with her. We're just working out the logistics. I'm gonna try to get her on at least once a month. But I don't think I'm the best person for that question to respond, because I don't really like pizza like that. I'll eat it. I eat it every now and then like I like cheese pizza and meat sauce. So I like to dip my cheese pizza in the meat sauce. So I'm a little weird when it comes to, you know, pizza and eating my pizza and how I like it. I really don't like meat on it, but I did eat when I was in Italy. I did eat the pizza with the meat on it. Instead of, you know, our regular pepperoni, they use fresh salami. A lot of the ingredients were super fresh. Everything was made to order, cooked to order, and things like that. Now, when we were in Venice, I did not like the pizza there because the bread was so thick. It was just, I didn't like it. And
I'm not a big fan of overly thick bread and everything. The other thing that Italy is known for and everything. And of course, anybody that watches the old TV shows and the old TV movies and everything knows that there is a certain machismo culture and definitely a certain mafia culture as well. So I was wondering if you ran across any that you recognize, because sometimes you can recognize them. Because I know that we used to have an Italian restaurant, and the Italian restaurateur is still here in Durham, but there would be certain people who would come by and drop by and make sure that business was going well and everything. And we definitely got the impression that they might have been, as the old expression goes, made man and part of the mafia and all in that space. So I don't know if you ran across any of those types, and if so, were you able to recognize them and all in that space? Because that is a stereotype that exists with Italy, is that it's made up of a lot of mafia people, and sometimes maybe it's those seersucker suits or some of the other things that they have, you can recognize that they are part of the mafia. So I just wondered if you ran across folks that you were suspecting were mafia, even if they didn't come up to you personally and tell you and your friends that they were part of that culture.
No, actually I didn't, because we did day trips every day. So we were gone. Initially we were in Milan. We went shopping. We went to the central station and to Duomo, where that's a, major shopping area or whatever. So I posted pictures on social media, and everybody can see my pictures. And I wanted to definitely go to Gucci, so I went to 2 Gucci stores and shopped there. And so that's pretty much what we did in Milan. We ate when we came back sometimes, but we pretty much was out and about. The first day day trip we took was to Venice. We went there, and second day trip was to Pisa. We went there. Third day trip was to Rome, and we did, Vatican City and all of that stuff or whatever. So I was in Milan, but I did day trips coming from Milan and things like that or whatever. So I was there, but I wasn't really there. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I spent the whole time there, but I did. I'll touch upon this. Gucci is actually an Italian brand, and he's from Milan. And so I actually went to the place where he was killed. He was killed in Milan, leaving his office. And a lot of people don't know this. And, I talked about this in my video, is that, people are buying these brands and they don't really understand and know the history about the people, that you're supporting and buying brands for. But, Gucci is one of my go-to brands that I shop with all the time. And so I kind of, like to know, history about people that, I deal with and where I'm spending my money. So we went there and I took pictures, took a little video on the outside. He said I couldn't take video on the inside, but he did let me take a couple of pictures on the inside and things like that or whatever. And we took pictures in the general area. So if you guys follow me on social media, I'll post all of that information where I talk about him and show all of that there. But like I said, we did day trips. Another thing that I need to express to my viewers is, when you're over in, the UK and things like that, your money, it doesn't go as far as, when you're in the States, because our money is worth less. So you have to understand how the conversion is over there. And sometimes, like, I don't carry cash, but I ended up having to go to the ATM. So when I did go to the ATM, I took out like $150, $60, something like that. They upcharged me 13.9% for the conversion. So it ended up being like $200 and some dollars that I actually took out in American cash, only for like $160 of their money. So my suggestion is, if you are going to utilize cash over there, do your cash exchange before you get there, because when you get there and you pull it out the ATM, it's going to be astronomical for you and things like that. But mostly I use my credit card, your credit card or your bank fees. A bank also have like transition and charges that they charge, but it won't be as much as the local charge or whatever. That's one of the things that I had to point out. Because normally I don't like carrying cash, because they have a lot of pickpocketers over there, and that was that was announced consistently on the train. Please be aware for pickpocketers when you exit in the train. Please be aware of your surroundings. Please be aware of, X, Y, and Z. So whenever we did the day trips and we came back on the train, we left immediately from the train and went to a taxi. Now there were people who were driving like personal cars, and so they were like, you need a taxi, and they were like, and we were like, yes, we were like, we're going to the Quark Hotel. Oh, it's $35 a person. Ain't nobody paying it. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm good. We're gonna go over here to the hotel, to the taxi company that I know that charges like $23 to, I think the most we paid going back to the hotel was like $27. So you just have to be mindful of, people who are trying to, take advantage of you because you don't understand the conversion, you don't understand the money. And a lot of things that I do before I travel out the country is I read up on all this stuff and I know things before I get there. So I'm pretty adept when it comes to, things. Now, when I initially landed or whatever, I took the train from the airport to the hotel because Milan is huge. And the one Malpensa airport is like an hour away. So when I looked at it on Uber, it was like $300 to get from the airport to the hotel. I was like, I'm not paying that. I was like, I'm taking the metro. So I took the train to the closest station that was, to the hotel. And from there, I got an Uber and went to the hotel. So the train ride was like $13 for the train ride from the airport to where I needed to go. And so once I learned their train system, we were pretty much on their subway, metro, buses, and, things like that, because it's cheaper that way to travel around the place that you're going. So I just suggest to people all the time is look to see if they have a metro, learn about their systems, get the map so learn where your hotel is, contact the hotel, learn where the closest metro is to your hotel, and then just go from there, because it'll be a whole lot cheaper than, you trying to, like take Ubers and, things like that or whatever. But we did have to, because I wasn't walking. I was like, I'm not walking. So from the metro substation to the hotel, it was like about a 20-minute walk. I took a taxi each time. I'm like, I'm not walking. So we were back and forth taking taxis, and everything is based off of Central Milan. And so the trains, everything. So even when we went to the outlet stores, we took a train ride to the outlet store, because the outlet store is like 96 miles outside of Milan. And then we ended up taking a bus coming back because the train stopped running. So you have to know all that stuff previously before, you just hop up and go. And we didn't know that. So when we went to customer service, she told us that the train stopped running and all of that stuff. So even at the outlets, I was able to get some of my money back, because when you spend money over there, you get your taxes back. So I got like 200 and something back, because they charge at the outlets, they charge a commission, and then, whatever the change rate is and stuff like that. So I ended up getting like $210 back from my purchases that I made at the outlet. And this time, I think I did pretty good. I only spent like $3,000 in shopping or whatever. So I think I did good.
Yeah, it sounds like you did amazing and everything.
No, because I only got 2 pairs of shoes and 3 belts. So $3,000. So I was just, but I'm a Gucci person, so most of my money was spent in Gucci. So, my $3,000 was spent in Gucci.
No, you spent on Gucci products, but there was another story that I was going to get to, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe we'll even talk about it with Ida when she comes here next week. But apparently, you mentioned the the past president, but there are a number of folks that are not too pleased with the current president, and I know that there are options for a third party, but apparently the New York Times, and I think it was immediately after the holidays, went and talked to a number of the Black voters, the African-American voters in the community, and they revealed something that I think a lot of communities are thinking about, which is that they are hesitant to re-elect Biden in 2024 because, as one person said, he's too old. So they have said.
But isn't Trump the same age? But I don't understand. Isn't Trump the same age? But y'all want to hire him?
There's not a far difference. I think Biden might be 81 or 82 if he is re-elected, and Trump is like 77 or 78. So yeah, they're both in that same senior citizen era and all in that space, and not knocking it because I'm not that far away from it and everything. But yeah, there was even another gentleman that he says that well, another voter that they went and talked to, and they said that they honestly feel that the Democratic Party has forgotten about the black male. I don't know how they feel about the black female, but apparently they felt that he had forgotten about the black male, and it was a recent New York Times podcast episode featuring several black voices expressing their hesitation and concern over voting for President Biden's reelection, with some claiming that he's too old, as I said, and others stating that the Democratic Party has not fulfilled its promises to African Americans and all along those lines. Like any politician ever completes their promises. That's just my automatic thoughts.
But it's not even that, Mark. Let me just stop you there. Let me interject. It's not even that. What they fail to realize is when President Obama, let's backtrack it all the way back to President Obama presidency, both terms. When President Obama was in office and he brought bills and things that he wanted to get passed, they vetoed and they did not vote on anything. Prime example, Merrick Garland. He was supposed to be on the Supreme Court. They wouldn't even allow the procedures to even take place so that he could put somebody on the Supreme Court. They waited until the election when Trump got in office. That's why we were telling these idiots, and yes, I'm calling them idiots, that they needed to vote and stop being dumb about their vote and understand that their votes are, important. And so, the Supreme Court is the law of the land. And once the Supreme Court has, made a decision, then that's what it is. A lot of things that Black people are being affected by is because of Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas doesn't support you. Clarence Thomas doesn't support anything that has anything to do with black males and anything like that. So they're trying to blame the Democratic Party. It's not the Democratic Party. Again, it's the Republican Party. The Republican controls Congress. The Democrats controls the Senate. So when you have someone who's controlling Congress, which are the Republicans, they're not voting towards anything. And West Virginia, what's his name? Manchin, the one that's in West Virginia, he always voted along party lines of Republicans. He only used the Democratic nomination to get in office, but he always voted with Republicans. And these people got to understand, yes, the Democrats are in office, but y'all put the president in office, but you didn't put enough Democrats in Congress and in the Senate in office for us to pass our agendas. So you can sit there and be stupid if you want to, and yes, I'm calling them stupid, and vote Republican and vote a different way and things like that or whatever, and let them take you to the ringer. So, because I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm in that middle class. Yeah, no, I'm just saying I'm in the middle class or whatever. So a lot of the stuff doesn't really affect me that I talk about, but it affects people that are, in classes that are lower than me or whatever. But they have to understand how this stuff operates, and apparently they don't understand how this stuff operates. So if they want to be dumb, vote Republican, then they're going to have to live with what they're with whom they're voting for and things like that. Because like I said, they got the president in there, but they did not get the Congress and the Senate like we need. We need to control the Congress. We need to control the presidency. We need to control Congress, and we need to control the Senate in order for us to get what they want, and in order for us to push the agenda that we need to push. Because it's only a problem when Democrats are in office. Everybody has a problem with everything when Democrats are in office. When Republicans are in the office, you don't hear them complaining about X, Y, and Z. You don't hear them complaining about nothing. They shut up and they just take it as they go. So again, with the black male, even with President Obama, he came up with My Brother's Keeper Project. He came up with all kind of stuff. What do you want him to do? Go out and fill out and complete the applications for you? Go out and take the training for you? All you had to do was go to your neighborhood unemployment office, the other program, nonprofits and things like that. But guess what? They were so damn lazy, Mark, that they did nothing. And then they want to fault President Obama and other Democrats talking about that they didn't do anything for them. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. What did you want them to do? Come to your house, get you up out of bed, and go and drive you to the place so that you can complete it? Y'all did nothing. We are the only race of people that sit back and want everybody else to do things for us. And the thing about it is these people got to understand that we're not in no place where people are doing anything for us. We have to get out and make our own opportunities. We have to get out and do things for ourselves. And not one time did these people get out and do anything for themselves. When President Obama was in office with My Brother's Keeper and all of the other programs that he put out there for young Black males and for Black males in general. And he flooded money into these programs. So to sit there and say that the Democrats didn't do X, Y, and Z, that's a bunch of BS. That's a bunch of malarkey.
No, I hear what you're saying and everything, but Dr. Anthony, one of the things that I know folks sometimes get on and all in that space is you got some people that have reliable or expectations that you can't really obtain, unobtainable expectations. That's the word I was looking for, and everything. Because I do know that there are a number of folks that even when Obama was in office felt that since he came from the activist space that he should have done a lot more than he actually did. And even in this particular New York Times article and everything, one of the gentlemen said that when talking about the nostalgia for former President Obama, they said, "I've been let down by Obama. Do you hear me?" When asked why he continued, I feel as though he could have been more. Well, I'm going to give you a quote.
No. I'm just saying how, because President Obama put so much money into programs for Black Americans. He targeted young Black people. Again, they did not do what they were supposed to do. And so my thing is, you can sit back and you can blame President Obama all day, because what's his name? Cornel West and Tavis Smiley, both of them got together and blamed President Obama for a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't even, accurate, that they didn't even, hold President George Bush, that they're not even holding Trump accountable for, but they want to hold President Obama accountable for. But again, President Obama put money into the Black community. He put money into My Brother's Keeper, but where were they? They did not go and they did not apply for any of these programs. First of all, the money was there. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They didn't apply for anything. They sent the money out and put it into the unemployment offices. All they had to do was go sign up for these free programs. Free, Mark. Free. Yep. Go sign up for these free programs. So did the Black men do it? No, but they're quick to say, "Oh, I'm disappointed in President Obama because he didn't do X, Y, and Z." What was he supposed to do? Come to your house, pick you up, wake you up, make you breakfast, drive you to the place where these programs will be implemented, and tell you to complete the paperwork and tell you to do this. Just like, for example, just like when they told them that, coal jobs were going to be, going away. A lot of the manufacturing jobs were going to be going away. Do you think any of these people went out there, got training and things like that to support themselves to get better positions and better jobs? None of these people did any of that. They thought that their jobs were going to be secure. They thought that their jobs were going to be around for a long time. But guess what? AI is taking over, and AI is, robots are doing a lot of the jobs that, mankind did way back in the day. But what did you do personally to elevate yourself and to get yourself to the next level? They did nothing. So they're quick to blame President Obama, and they're quick to blame Democrats. And so my thing is, you vote how you vote, but when you vote that way, be ready to take the consequences. And that's another thing that just irritates the hell out of me is, when black men are like, "Oh, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that." What did you do? What did you do? Honestly, what did you do? Because, let's take DC, for example. There is a rise. There's an uptick and a rise in carjackings that's happening in DC with young people being, criminals, young Black males being criminals and things like that. So now, you take the penal system or whatever, and then you have, these young Black males out there doing X, Y, and Z. And then they want to say, "Oh, politicians are targeting, Black people. Politicians are targeting Black males." But which politician or which white man is out there telling the Black youth to go out there, carjack people, kill people, and all that stuff and not expect to be punished? I live right here in DC. My chairs were stolen off my porch. You know what I'm saying? Because I got the dude on camera. By a Black male was stolen off my porch. So y'all gonna get mad with me because I called the police and I want them arrested because he stole my chairs? You know what I'm saying? My thing is, at some point, you have to take accountability and you have to accept accountability. And that's the problem. They're not accepting accountability and they're not taking accountability. So again, They can vote how they gonna vote, and they can suffer the way that they're going to suffer. Because I'm gonna be okay. I'm not in the lower class. I'm not in the middle class. I'm in the upper middle class. So I'm going to be okay. I'm gonna still be able to take my trips every month like I do. I'm still gonna be able to shop like I do. I'm still gonna be able to do everything that I need to do, because those laws don't really affect me. It affects people who are in the lower class, lower than me, and that's what they don't understand. And that's what, we're trying to get them to understand. So when they're sitting there talking about, oh, the Democrats didn't do this, what were they supposed to do when it's a Republican-led Congress? First of all, what I need you to do is I need you to go back and understand civics, because I'm quite sure a lot of y'all failed it or whatever. And you don't understand government. You need to understand government. You need to understand the voting process. You need to understand the laws. You need to understand how the Supreme Court operates. You need to understand all of this, because all of this affects you. And because you have people like Nick Cannon, what's his name, the football player that they got rid of, the football player that everybody boycotted, Colin Kaepernick, running around talking about I don't vote. So, my thing is, you running around saying I don't vote, and then all these other people running around talking about I don't vote, but then you have the sheer audacity, the black audacity to say that something is not, being allocated towards you, something is not given to you because you didn't freaking vote. You know what I'm saying? You don't even understand the price and the commodity of your vote. They don't even understand redlining and, gerrymandering and all of that stuff, how the Republicans are rewriting those lines and moving those neighborhood lines so that when they have elections, that's always a Republican that's going to win. But they don't understand that, but they want to blame Democrats for everything. But you're sitting right there and allowing them to do whatever the hell they want to do, but they're doing things under your nose. But then on the national level, you're talking about, you want to blame Democrats. You can't blame Democrats because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You clearly said that your vote didn't count. Your vote didn't matter. So you wasn't going to vote. Prime example, 95% of the black women voted for Hillary Clinton. Black men voted for Trump. Now, how insane is that? Black men voted for Trump. They don't even, oh, Trump is a genius. Trump is this. Trump is an idiot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, y'all voting for a man that don't even respect you as a freaking man. Take Tim Scott, for example. This man tried to shake his hand on national TV. You can pull it up. He skirted all the way around his hand and wouldn't even shake his hand. But he's standing there looking like a little lapdog and stuff like that, trying to be in the mix with Trump. But he's a main Republican, black Republican, talking about, oh, America not racist. There's no racism. There's no this and there's no that. But he stood there and showed you in your face that you meant nothing to him. But you still over there trying to, be his little lapdog and be his little puppy and things like that or whatever, and still be in his face. But you got used, and you see you got used, and that's what everybody that does not vote, and they're out there talking about, my vote don't count, this, that, and the other. Understand the voting process. Please understand. It's in a book. And again, like I said, they didn't pass civics, so they don't know how the American government works. They don't know anything about anything. And then once it's done, then they want to put up a fight talking about, oh, no, we need to do this. No, we don't need to do nothing. Because that's why I tell people all the time, I'm not praying for you. I'm not marching for you. I'm not donating to you. I'm not doing any of that stuff, because guess what? You had an opportunity to make change with your vote, and you decided to vote against your own best interest. And my thing is, Mark, another point that I want to point out, I'm talking about y'all Trump loving black people that want to vote Republican and think you equal. They tolerate your ass. You're not equal. You'll never be equal to them. So you got to understand being tolerated and being accepted. You know what I'm saying? Trump has on his platform that he's promoting is law and order. Do they not understand what law and order means? Law and order means that they're going to police your black ass out of the white neighborhoods. That's what law and order means. That's what they mean when they say law and order. They're going to get tougher laws on black people. The prime example, I was just looking at and reading something that happened in Jackson, Mississippi. The black policeman can't even arrest or stop a white person in Jackson, Mississippi anymore. And Jackson is 90% black. Now, how insane is that? But you put Republicans and you want to vote against your own best interest. So my thing is like, do you really realize what you're saying? Do you really realize what you're doing? Like, honestly, and you want to blame Democrats, and I'm not saying that, you know, Democrats are all be all or whatever, but at least they're looking out for your black ass. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, it's ridiculous.
No, it's very ridiculous. I agree with you on that and everything. Just to slightly divert from that topic, but I was going to have fun just because it can be fun to bring up a number of issues and everything when we were actually talking about this during Thanksgiving and everything. But I have to ask you, I know it's not your mode, even though both you and I have said that you have been targeted by what I'm getting ready to mention and everything. But I know that there is a popular term, I think it's called cougars and everything, but when did cougars become the rage of a society? Because apparently there is a 32-year gap between Joan Collins and her boyfriend and the person that we were talking about. And this is her, I shouldn't say boyfriend, but her fifth husband. And then she said it's just a number. And the one we were talking about was Cher, because apparently Cher got somebody that's almost half her age and all in that space. So I just wondering your thoughts about some of these women in their 70s and maybe even their 80s that are going for some of the 30 and 40-year-olds and all in that space. So that is something that's on the news, and I know you got some hot topics and ways to put them in their place as well. But whether it's white or black, what is your thoughts around some of these cougars that are going after some of these young men? And I'm sure there are women that are.
The women are going after the young men. The women are not going after the young men. The young men are chasing the women. Trust and believe. They're chasing the women. So it's not like, you know, because I mean, I'll tell anybody in a minute, I don't really date young because of the you know, the lack of, you know, understanding, nothing in common, where you going, who you with, who you talking to. Ain't nobody got time for all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm a career woman. I'm a person. I'm out here working. I'm making money. I'm doing what I need to do or whatever. It's either you need to play your role in my life or you can kick rocks and get gone. And trust and believe, some women are out there looking for young men, but for the most part, the men are the younger men are chasing the older women because they feel like the older women are more stable. They have their stuff together. It's not, you know, the drama that you see with the younger women. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking nobody. I'm just telling you based off of what I've read and what I've seen on social media and, you know, things like that or whatever. So, I mean, my thing is to each his own, to, you know, whatever makes your boat float. If they make them happy, you know, I'm good for it or whatever. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be in a relationship where I'm arguing back and forth, where, you know, it's nothing but constant chaos and, you know, things like that, regardless of how old the person is, because you can still have a person who's 50, 60 and still immature and still, you know, on the dumb stuff or whatever. But I'm just not going to do it. It's either you get yourself together or, you know, you can kick rocks and we can just be friends and just call it a day or whatever. But, you know, I guess that's like the new thing or whatever. And I think, you know, like, what I've seen with young men, a lot of them go for older women because they're more established and they have money and they feel like, you know, hey, that's my sugar mama. She can do this, you know, she can do that, you know, X, Y, and Z, you know, blase, whatever. And again, you know, whatever make your boat float, you know, I'm not the person that's paying your bills. You're not paying mine. So I could care less about, you know, who's voting, who's dating who and who's doing what. You know, like they said, age is nothing but a number. You can have an older man, you can have an older woman, and they can be insecure and you know, ignorant. They can be, you know, immature. They can be all that stuff. You can have a younger person who's mature, who's secure about themselves and know what they want and know what they want to go after. So it just depends. You know, it's about the chemistry. It's about, you know, the compatibility. It's about all of that, you know.
But speaking of chemistry and compatibility, one of the things that I've learned, even in some of my own family history and everything, is that there was a time that things were more acceptable than they are right now and everything. I've learned that there might be some relatives that might be more closely related than I would like them to be related, even in my own family history and everything in that space. So they might have been second or third cousins, even though they were married and all in that space. And it does seem like there was a time that was more acceptable or maybe not as questioned because people were living in very tight neighborhoods. And we do know that slavery is part of the narrative as well. So, you know, the slave master may put a third or fourth cousin together and all in that space because they were trying to do that whole breeding stuff as well. So that's just part of the narrative that we don't talk about. We tease places like West Virginia and Arkansas, but it is part of the other cultures as well because I'm sure even in your own family lineage, if you do some digging and everything, there might be some folks that were grandparents or great grandparents or other parents that you later learned were third or fourth cousins and all in that space just because of the way of the narrative of history and all in that space. So it's quite interesting when you do those history digs and everything, when you find out that people are more closely related than you might like them to be. But that was also what was going on at that particular time as well and everything. So I'm sure we've all got that in our storylines and everything, that there are folks you're going like, wait a minute, they were third cousins, but they were really our great grandparents or whatever else and everything. And I'm sure definitely with those Louisiana roots, just like I've got them in North Carolina, you probably got some that you're sitting there going like, wait a minute, you mean that Bob and Mary were actually more closely related than we actually wanted them to be? But then we got to remember the slave part of the narrative as well.
Well, I mean, in like you said, it's cultural based, and it depends on the area where you come from or whatever. Because I have double cousins, and I'm quite sure most other people have double cousins, and things like that or whatever. And then in some cultures they married within their family to keep that bloodline or whatever. I know they said like in the royals that they were married, like distant cousins and, things like that or whatever. So it just depends on, the culture and where you come from and how you're, the dichotomy of your family. I was looking at a special on one of these documentaries about this family either in South Carolina or North Carolina or whatever, but they were products of like closely related relatives and things like that, and you could tell because they had deformities and they had mental problems and things like that. And people got to understand when you are in a relationship with somebody who's like your first cousin, that's almost like a brother or a sister or whatever, you're gonna have problems with the offspring that's developed. And so we have some cultures that that are like that they were developed by brothers and sisters, first cousins, uncles and aunts, and other things of that nature. So I don't think I have that in my family or whatever, but I do know I have like double relatives,
double cousins,
mama, the daddy, and things like that or whatever. So again, it just goes back to like that backwoods stuff, where you're from, where you're born, and all of that. Because if we really dig deep into our like lineage and history, I'm quite sure we would find some interesting things in our path.
That's what I'm saying. Our family has all kinds of interesting history. Sometimes you don't find it until the family members are long gone and all along those lines. I was going to eat, I might have been at a sandwich shop. I think it was actually Jimmy John's or one of those Subway type shops and everything. And while I was there, they had on a movie, and I did not realize that the star of that movie is actually known more for comedy and all in that space. But it was actually one of the Alex Cross movies, and that is a movie that definitely Tyler Perry plays the lead and all in that space. But he is known for Medea and all of this. But this is him doing his rendition of his variation of playing a Denzel Washington or an action kind of character. So I was wondering, one, if you saw the movie and if you thought he did a good job. And like I said, I did not see but maybe 10-15 minutes of the movie while I was getting that bite to eat and everything. But it did have the requisite blow ups and the kind of suspense going on and all in that space. So it looked like it was a fairly decent rendition of an action adventure. So I don't know if you've watched the Alex Cross series, if you have any thoughts around it, but from what I could tell, even though I'm not, and I will just say it outright, I've said it on this show, I've said it on other shows, because some of it winds up being a little bit two-stepping and fetch it for my taste and everything. I was never that big of a Medea fan, but in this particular case, it looks like he was doing a strong role of playing that particular character. And I also understand there's an autobiography that even explains and maybe justifies some of the reasons that he had that particular characterization, even of the church woman that is part of the Medea narrative. So I understand there's a great documentary that is out about him as well. So maybe I'll change my views after watching that documentary. I have not seen the documentary, but I did see this particular movie, and maybe at some point, maybe even later today or later this week, I'll go ahead and watch the entirety of the movie. But what I saw, it looked like a strong movie and a strong action figure. But I don't know if you had watched it or if you had any thoughts about this particular narrative.
Yeah, I've seen Alex Cross. It was a fairly decent movie. I watched it some years ago. I haven't watched it in recent times or whatever. But as far as Madea is concerned, I'm gonna always support Tyler Perry and Madea. Why? Because Tyler Perry gives Black people jobs. Yeah. So as long as he's giving Black people jobs, I'm gonna always support his movies. I may not agree with some of his stuff or whatever, but I am going to support. I am going to be a Black woman that's going to support this Black man because he's supporting other Black men and he's supporting other Black women. So I'm going to always support. And the whole Madea thing is, in the Black community, we all have a Madea. We may not call our grandmamas, our grandparents, Madea or whatever. Just like my nieces and nephews, they call my mom Graham. You know what I'm saying? We might not say Madea, but we've all had a Madea where we had to rely on that wisdom and that that know-how that she's bringing to the bring it to the forefront and bring it to the table or whatever. So that's something that we can resonate as a Black person and as in Black culture. That's something that we can relate to. Is understanding, that we go home to our big mama, we go home to our Madea, we go home to, our grandparents, our parents, and we get that love and support that we can't get out in the street. And that's what he's portraying, and that's what he's putting forth. And a lot of people are, oh, well, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. I don't care. Continue to make the Madea movies. I'm going to support because, again, like I said, Tyler Perry is giving Black people jobs. Whereas, in the standard of Hollywood and what they consider, like beauty and things like that, they would not get jobs. He's giving dark-skinned actresses opportunities, dark-skinned actors opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't be that way. It should be based off of your talent or whatever. But he's providing a way and making a way for Black actors and Black actresses who we've never heard of on the big screen, but they're doing an amazing job under his tutelage and under his studio and under his films and things like that. So I'm going to always support his stuff, regardless of what he come out with, always.
No, like I said, he's done some amazing work. Like I said, just as a student of movies and everything, there were some of those imageries that was problematic, but I can definitely agree that there is definitely a lot of Madea type characters that exist even within our various Black churches and all along those lines. I know we've only got a few more minutes before we get ready to end, and I will tell your listeners something of those sites, since I never put it in the chat earlier, that they can go to hear these shows in the audio version and everything. But before I get to that, there were two things I was getting ready to mention really quickly, and we can only get to both of these issues quickly, and one of them involves other cultures as well. But apparently, and some of our people have made a good living off of it, including some folks like Todd Bridges and Gary Coleman and a number of others. But Natalie Portman, who many people know as being a Hollywood actress, is saying that she does not want to encourage any children to work in Hollywood. So even though she started her movie career at the age of 13, she called it an accident of luck, that she wasn't harmed while working, and she would not encourage young people to go into this field. She told the Variety Awards Circuit podcast, "I don't mean ever, I mean as children." So apparently she's thinking that it could be harmful if you get into these fields before you are ready for them. But I do know that even in our own community, there have been some great child actors that some of them went down some interesting paths, like the Todd Bridges and Gary Coleman, and I'm sure I could name some others, even the Cosby Kids, and a number of others as well, like what's her name, Raven, Cree Summers, and Lisa Bonet. But some of them have done all right, even though they started as children. And I know you, like me, have no kids of your own, but if your nieces or nephews came to you and told you that they wanted to get into the field of Hollywood as child actors, would you be encouraging them or discouraging them because of some of the narratives that we've heard about what goes on with child actors?
I'm not going to never discourage nobody from doing anything. If that's what they want to do, I'm going to make sure that my nephews get that opportunity and get that exposure. And the thing about it is, a lot of those parents were pushing those children in those type situations, because we can take R. Kelly, for example. A lot of those young girls were pushed by their parents because the money was coming. And like I tell you all the time, follow the money, because that's going to lead you to the root cause of everything or whatever. As long as that money was flowing, they didn't have a problem with R. Kelly seeing their daughters. They didn't have a problem with R. Kelly doing this. They didn't have a problem with R. Kelly doing that. But once the money stopped flowing, then his brother wanted to put him on blast. Then everybody else, the singer, what's her name, Sparkle, wanted to put him on blast. And then what I noticed too, a lot of these people, they do things, in terms of, trying to spark their careers. And when their careers don't get sparked the way that they think it should get sparked, or them get the money that they wanted to get, then they play the victim role and things like that. And I'm not saying that, everybody was like that, but at the same time, a lot of people were like that. So even with anything, even with the internet, you still have to monitor your child. You have to be in those positions with your child. You have to go to those things with your child. Your child is not old enough to make those decisions. So you have to be the person that is making the decision in the best interest of the child. And sometimes you have to be brave enough to say no, because everything, like they say, all money is not good money, and you can't expose your child to certain things. That's just like, sitting at home. We're not going to expose our children to porn and tell them to become porn stars, right? We're going to watch them, and we're going to monitor what they're doing. So within anything, you have to monitor your child to make sure that they are on the straight and narrow, and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And the adults that they are engaged with, you have to monitor them to make sure that they're not doing anything inappropriate with your child. And that's just the bottom line. And a lot of times, a lot of these parents, those parents, they were just accepting the money and just exposing their children to whatever. They didn't care what their children were being exposed to. They just wanted the money. And that was just the bottom line. They wanted the money. So, my thing is, I'm not going to discourage my nephew if he wants to sing, or if he wants to be, an actor, or my niece, if she wants to do, vice versa. I'm going to encourage that. But at the same time, I'm going to also encourage the parents, to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of, monitoring what's going on with the nieces and nephews and things like that. Because, you can't say that your experience is going to be my experience. That's just like I tell people, I don't really care for HBCUs because I went to one and I had a crappy time. But at the same time, I'm not going to discourage a child from going to a university or attending an HBCU because I had a bad time. That was my experience. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that child is going to have that same experience. So, that's kind of selfish of us to be put in a position and say, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. No, you should do it, but you have to be monitored, and the person that you're dealing with has to be monitored. And that's just the bottom line. And, you have to look at everything, with a fine-tooth comb. You have to turn down some stuff,
You definitely got to turn down some stuff, and definitely, apparently, they needed to turn down some stuff over there in part of the country. I think it was in Kentucky and everything, because there was a armed EMT that had to thwart an attack that was going on, because there was an axe wielding, you heard me right, an axe wielding woman who slashed a man's face before smashing down the station door and all in that space. So I know we talk about gun control, and maybe when Miss Ida is here, we can bring this conversation up. But yeah, there's some people that are being that dangerous, and it's not always the guns that are being dangerous. Folks can find.
But the thing about it, Mark, is the woman is still alive, so we know she's white. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because this white woman went into the police station and opened fire directly at the police, and she still lived. So, that's BS about, you need to do what they want to do, what they say do, and this, that, and the other. They want to kill Black people, and they targeting to kill Black people. Because I just watched a thing on Crime TV about how this white cop said that he hate Black people, and he hate this and he hate that. So, they got rid of the hoods, and they got, they have badges now. They're lawyers, they're doctors, they're the judges.
They're definitely leaders and everything. Before we get out of here, and speaking of folks that were white that did not get away with their crime and all in that space, I know that the other story that I had seen in the news was apparently Derek Chauvin, who was arrested and who was definitely part of the folks that killed George Floyd, has been stabbed in federal prison. So apparently he went into federal prison. Maybe he was even bragging on it, and there were probably some brothers in that prison with him that were not all that ready to greet him with open arms. And apparently they found a shiv or some other way to stab him. But apparently he is still living, and I'm imagining that he'll be in some sort of maximum security as opposed to minimum security. But yeah, he was not getting a warm greeting, and apparently there are some folks that stabbed him, and I believe that took place on this past weekend, the day after Thanksgiving and everything.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't care. You reap what you sow. Karma is real. You know what I'm saying? All that dirtiness that you did to, black people and to George Floyd, you killed him on national TV. You're just reaping what you sow. I have no sympathy for you. So it is what it is. If you go to prison and you get stabbed, that's just what it is. I have no sympathy for you. None
And
whatsoever.
rightfully so. And it sounds like you don't need to have that symphony. And definitely, I can see that being something that we can definitely see that a number of folks are going in that space and getting into what, as you just said, they deserve, and all along those lines. So definitely, he's getting, what did they say? You reap what you sow. And
Hmm.
you said karma is a very real thing, and all in that space. So definitely, that is something that folks need to be aware of, is that karma can be real, and definitely all along those lines. So before
Hmm.
we get out of here, we're getting ready to end very shortly, just for your fans and everything. I was going to tell them where they can find the show if they are looking. And like I said, I have to upload some shows, but if they are looking and listening, the platform that I use is Spreaker to get the shows out there and
Spell it.
everything. But it is also, and I'm just looking, it has already been added to Spotify. I'm waiting to get the approval from Apple, but I imagine that it will get approved very shortly. iHeart is one of the places that they can get it. They can definitely hear it. As a matter of fact, it's already been added on Audible, and it has been added on Deezer. It has been added on Podcast Addict. It has been added on Podchaser, Castbox is pending. Google Podcast is pending, and it looks like iHeart is pending as well. But I very seldom ever get a turn down. So I think that if they look in a matter of a few days and all along those lines, those are 8 platforms that they can hear. So for folks that are listening to the All Around Show, and you want to see this show and listening to it in the audible version as opposed to the visual version, maybe you're tired of looking at my bearded face and the beautiful Dr. Anthony and all in that space, and you just want to hear our voices instead, you can definitely go to these various sources if you want to hear the audible version, and that is Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, which is also known as Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and GeoSaven. Some of those are still waiting for approval, but I am very confident that all of them will be going through. So if they give me just a matter of a few days, they will probably see it on all those platforms. And I'm trying to get some other ones as well. But definitely that is plenty of places that people can listen right now and everything. And I think I've got 3 of the episodes from earlier this year, maybe even 4 or 5. And by this evening, and no later than tomorrow or Friday, I will have several of them up, maybe as many as 15 or 20, so they can go back and listen to a number of these shows and both hear our engaging conversation, but also, as me and Dr. Anthony and even Ida, who is a professional comedian, like to do, have some laughter as well. So we are friends, not just on the air, but also off the air as well. And I definitely look forward to catching up with them in person and all along those lines. You know, I keep telling Dr. Anthony that she's got to tell that friend of hers that I'm ready to go on a trip and he needs to go, and to borrow her phrase, kick rocks and disappear. And all of those lines. Just having a little fun with you and
Oh,
your.
make sure I deliver the message. Definitely. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in. The clock on the wall says that's all. Make sure you click like and share. Let's get those numbers up. We have been, in the top 10. We want to go to the top 5 and to the number 1 spot. So please, please, please click like, share, and, tune in to the show. And with that being said, we will talk to you guys on next Monday. And hopefully the beautiful Miss Ida B will be back to join myself and Mark. And we can give you guys more insight and some more, thoughts on different topics. And if you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, you can always send it to the show link at allaround@gmail.com, AWLAROUND@gmail.com. So deuces, my loves. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.